It's another wonderful and amazing time to have you join us on International Forum, where we look at issues outside the shores of Africa and look at how we can bring respite, basically the impact that it could have in terms of the implementation in Nigeria and, of course, Africa. Well, looking at what we have today, which is on the Joe Biden, the President Joe Biden's withdrawal from the re-election bid. And he basically, supported Kamala Harris, the vice president. He endorsed her to go on the nomination and, of course, to represent him as the candidate of the Democrats that will be facing Trump in the election coming forth November. And what could be the implication of this? Well, a huge number of delegates seem to be in support of Kamala Harris' nomination, and that could also make her to, emerge as the candidate of the Democratic Party. And looking at what that is, what is Trump up against, what could be the shocks that are coming down the spines of Trump, or what could be the weaknesses of Kamala Harris that Trump would basically be looking into. You agree with me that Trump always has a way of doing his things and also making jest of people who are seen as his opponents. And basically, he has started making jest of Kamala Harris. But Kamala Harris, at the age of 59, is seen as the youngest, looking at the challenges facing the former, re-election plan by Joe Biden, who turned 81. And of course, he had some incoherent speeches June 27 when he held a debate with Trump. And that again could be seen as some missteps that made him to lose some support from the Democrats. And Kamala Harris is clinching a huge number of supports to a point where the donations and the campaign for her has hit $81 million. And this is also adding to the surge that she had, which is about $250 million war chest in dollars that she also has in the offing for the election. And so this could be a very big victory for the Democrats. This could be a new dawn for the United States, looking at what they are up against in terms of the election and how, Trump is going to slug it out with Kamala Harris if she emerges as the candidate. Well, my name is Philip Omo-Gyukpong, and discussing this sensitive, interesting topic with me, starting from my immediate left, I have a custodian of the law, Emmanuel Obakpolo, also a public affairs analyst. Thanks for joining.
It's a delight being here. Good afternoon.
And next to Emmanuel Obakpolo is another learned colleague of his, not mine. Not me. Well, basically by association, I could be saying as a learned colleague.
No, you are a learning colleague.
Oh, really? You're sure I have that pass mark to do that?
Learning, not learned. You can't.
Learning colleague.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So joining me also on this is another learned colleague of his, and he is Joshua Abolagba. Thanks for coming, Joshua.
Thank you, sir.
All right, let me start with you, Emmanuel Obakpolo. We've been having this, and so much surprises have been up, as in if Joe Biden will be fit to defeat Donald Trump in the forthcoming polls. But how did you grade the withdrawal of Joe Biden from the re-election campaign and the emergence of Kamala Harris?
Well, for me, I'm not surprised. We saw it coming. Even it was clear in the air, even the disposition of the person of President Joe Biden, it was evidential that he would not be able to stand his second term. And so many persons, including some prominent members of his party, the Democrats, started calling for his step aside or resignation, as the case may be. And the man made an amazing statement which shocked some of us and ran through our spine. He did say that it is only the Lord Almighty that will convince him to step aside with respect to his campaign bid for the second term. Just now, we've seen him. He did that on Sunday.
So probably he had an encounter with the Lord that made him step aside.
Maybe. And I think some of us will be waiting to hear him tell us how the experience was. So, and it is going to bring a lot of setback in the party, particularly Democrats. Yes, with respect to these elections. Because, you know, the last time he contested, it was the person of Trump that most of the voters didn't like, probably because of his style of leadership and policies that he made, which some tend to be so harsh on particularly immigration law and on immigrants. So, but just now, the person of Biden will not be on the ballot box. So it is going to be a disadvantage, to my mind, to Democrats as a party.
Okay, let's take your impact on this emergence, Joshua Bolagba.
Yes, with regards to, you know, the withdrawal of President Joe Biden for his re-election bid, and we could see that he has actually made a very sound choice, in my own opinion, because you know, at the age of 81, he's actually quite, he would have, or rather, he was the oldest person actually who ran for president prior to this term. The first term, he was even the oldest that had run for president in the United States. And then again, him coming to say he wants to go for a second term bid means that he was going to be the oldest again. But so him stepping down just shows that, you know, but definitely we must also take note that he was pressured by the high-ups in the Democratic Party to step aside, that he has done his bid. You know, he has been serving at the helms of affairs in the United States since when he was in his 30s. He has been in Senate before, almost 40 years ago. He was a senator then, you know, and then even the person who he was vice president to, Barack Obama, was a teenager or a young man, a young boy at that time when he had his first thing in the Senate. President Joe Biden. And
so he's the highest scholar in politics.
Yes, he has done
American
a lot.
Politics.
He has done a lot. He has reached the zenith of career politically for any person, for any individual.
Quite mind-blowing.
Yes. So you are going to the seat of the zenith, and as president, you have done your bid. And so I believe that now it's time for someone who is much younger to take over the helms of affairs. You know, the United States is seen as a beacon of hope to other nations. And so if the Democratic Party decides to throw their weight behind Kamala Harris, who is 59 years, going to be 60 this year, and to run for office, then I believe that maybe if the electorates actually want her to become their president, then that can be done. But then again, we must also take note of the Electoral College, which is something that might also bring about one or two issues in the elections when it's time. But definitely, I think now as it stands, the elections go be between Kamala Harris and the former president
Donald Trump. The Trump.
That's it.
Well, let's go by what Emmanuel Bakpolo said. He said it's a setback for the party. Do you feel the same?
Yes, with regards to that, you know, it might not be a setback with regards to the inner workings of the party, because they were both on the same ticket before, prior to Joe Biden stepping down. So they still have the modalities that are in place on that ticket. You know, she's just going, if she gets the nomination, then she will just have to pick a running mate who will now serve as a vice presidential candidate for that Democratic Party. But the setback which might come up is the fact that most persons already have the face of Joe Biden as their preferred candidates, quote and unquote. And so now there are so many things that would be in the minds of the electorate. You know, the Democratic Party had done it before, whereby they fielded a woman, and we knew the outcome of that election, despite the fact that she got the popular vote. But with regards to Electoral College, she was not declared the winner because she didn't win the election. So then when it comes to talking about as it stands now, you know, it's also something like that. And Kamala Harris is also a woman of color and also has a multi-ethnicity background. So that might also be a drawback on the voters, part of the voters. But let's just see how things unfold.
Well, as I guess what you were saying as regards the drawback, you know, a lot of Democrats have even started, you know, they were reducing their support on Joe Biden. Because before now, June 27, there was a debate held where they saw the incoherent speeches and performance of the president, you know, withstanding the Trumpy Trump. And so that gave some, you know, setback already in terms of the number of persons that were dropping or withdrawing from, you know, supporting or donating to the campaign or re-election bid of Joe Biden. And just now we could see the huge strength of donations hitting $81 million for Kamala Harris. So that suggests that there could be some spinning moment positive for the party and basically for Kamala Harris. Would you want to change your mind, Emmanuel Bakolo?
No, I won't change my mind. It's just, you know, when something is strange and new, everybody tends to want to have experience or a bite or a feel of that thing. And I think that is what, moment. Yes, I think that is what is playing here just now. Feeding, should she succeed as the nominee of the party, I don't see her triumphing over Donald Trump just now. Because you look at the ticket that nexus Kamala Harris and the President Joe Biden is one ticket. And so far, with regards to the security stand of the United States of America, you cannot compare it with that as it used to be, particularly under former President Donald Trump. Donald Trump just now is the man of the moment. And maybe perhaps because he's getting sympathy with respect to some of the legal anchor that has been tied around him. And people begin to, himself and some of his supporters and well-wishers have termed some of all those legal anchor around him or over him to be political. And so, and when you listen to him just now, you discover that the man has remained himself. And the man is so static to the extent that he does not want to pretend over what he thinks should be the stand and security of the United States of America. And just now, America needs somebody who can guarantee the security of the United States of America. And just now, I think I would give it to Donald Trump. Because if you look at the wars, the crisis that the world is going through just now, we need somebody who is tough, somebody who can stand, somebody who can take a decision and cannot be influenced by any person or persons to ensure that the security remains. And I think Kamala Harris also would have, just like you said, and my learned friend here opined, you discover that she's an Asian American. She has some multifaceted international national connections. So, and you look at that, Americans will want to look at somebody who can guarantee the security of America and the position of America in the global politics. Because the Americans would want to take a feel from what transpired in Great Britain or United Kingdom, where just now we saw the Indian Briton who left as the Prime Minister of United States of United Kingdom. So they may want to compare and contrast and begin to see whether really we needed a homegrown American or we needed some of those persons who have come who have this legal citizenship of America, and how far would they go with America in their heart and in their mind. So putting all of this together, I think it is going to be a very big question mark on should Kamala Harris succeed as the nominee of Democrats. But just now, I give it to Donald Trump.
Okay, well, this is just an emergence, and we're looking at what she represents. And of course, reports have it that even the blacks could be giving it up to Kamala Harris, looking at the race that she also represents, but without being racial in this. But what do you make of that?
Yeah, you know, one thing again that we have to also take note of is the fact that in as much as due to the the nationality and the quote-unquote diversity,
Yeah.
that Kamala Harris brings to the ticket. But one thing that we should also take note of is the fact that most persons will look at the policies that have been taken by the Joe Biden, Kamala Harris government.
Exactly, the administrations will be put into the crucible.
Yes, and so she's a very, very integral part of that government.
Exactly.
Being the number 2 person in the government, the vice president, talking about the tickets, aside from, the administrative manner, but with regards to being the number 1 person, president, and then the vice president. So she is there as the vice president, and then these are policies that have been taken in which she is the vice president. The policies that have been taken cannot be said to have been taken without her input.
Okay, are you saying that they will see her as supposed taking responsibility for that because she's also part of the ticket?
Yes, no matter
that brought in Joe Biden.
Yes, no matter the actions they want to take, even if she wants to campaign, and she's going to campaign based on what they have jointly done during their first term. So you cannot remove Joe Biden's part or his.
But don't forget, developed minds, they also think differently.
Yes.
Because being the vice president, the powers to decide doesn't really zero on you. It zeroes on the president.
Yes.
And you're talking about Americans, those who are seen as, top class in terms of intelligence and how to deploy that intelligence into what will bring about dividends for the American people. And don't forget the age factor that also counts in her favor. She is 59, and with the exit of Joe Biden from the re-election bid, that puts Trump as the oldest. And again, a lot of persons could also be having the mindset that gradually, if Trump becomes the president, there could be issues of incoherent speeches and incoherent, characteristics that may also dampen the leadership of the American government. Don't you think they could also be thinking this?
They could, but one thing I keep on saying is that I believe the way the American society is now, no matter how we want to, paint the picture of a society that is built on fairness and equity and, fair playground, you understand? But we must also take note of the fact that they have tried this out before, and it failed. The first time when a female came out to run as president, and that was even a white woman, and they didn't vote for her at that particular point in time, Hillary Clinton. And so now having a multiracial personality in person of Kamala Harris coming to run for president, being a woman again, and then being the fact that she is an integral part of the government, in which some Americans believe that the government has not done too well for them. So those are the baggages that she would have to carry on as she vies for the ticket, and then if she gets the ticket, vies for the office of the President of the United States of America. So no matter how one look at it, you cannot remove her from this government.
Going by this conversation, Emmanuel Bakola, does it suggest to me that your opinion is that she's not the best nominee for this job?
I think so. That is my position. For me, she's not the best nominee on 2 grounds. One, for the fact that she has a joint ticket with Joe Biden. And looking at the crisis today all over the world, and Joe Biden's, because America is world police, give it to them, whether anybody believes it or not. And but under the leadership of Joe Biden, his administration have not been able to ensure that #1 position with respect to being world police. Then 2, you also look at arrays. Just like my
Arrays as a black woman.
Yes, my Renee friend opined. She's going to face a lot of challenges. What? Give it or leave it.
Some have said that could even count in her favor.
No, it cannot. Americans, this.
Have you forgotten the Obama government, the Obama administration that had a whole lot of support?
Obama.
Have you forgotten that? And don't you think that could also be an opportunity for her to flourish and win in the forthcoming polls?
Have you listened to Obama? Obama can convince Satan himself. So Obama has that gift. Obama has the charisma. But I do not see, I cannot in my dream compare Kamala Harris with the person of Barack Obama. I cannot.
There's a huge gulf.
No, it is the difference, 7 of the difference is clear. But when you look at the ticket now, the joint ticket she's having with the president, Joe Biden, it is going to affect her. should she get the nomination? Because just now we may be shouting, we may be thinking that with the huge donation she's having, an endorsement she's having, that she may eventually become the nominee of the party. What if upon the election within the inner affairs of the party and she didn't get it? What now happens? So America, though they have a system, the system is there already, to the extent that even should you put a goat there, a goat will do well, because the system regulates itself, unlike what we have in this part of the world. So the system, the institutions, they are going to favor any person that gets there as the president of America. But just now we are looking at the race between the Republican and the ruling party Democrats. And just now, the man that seemed to be in the mind of the people is no longer there. The man has stepped aside because of his health challenges. And you know, there were so many deniers, even when there were speculations that, look, Joe Biden seemed not to be strong health-wise. There were so many deniers. He denied himself. Even when he was in the hospital, there was this rumor that made the rounds that, look, this man is having COVID-19. There was a denier until few moments. The man now come out to say, I am stepping aside as advised by my people. Like I did say from the outset of this discussion, where he said that it is only going to take the Lord Almighty to convince him. And perhaps the heavens have visited him, and now the man has made up his mind to step aside. But looking at what transpired when Democrats had their litmus test, where they feeded Hillary Clinton as the presidential candidate, we saw what happened. Now, looking at, and Hillary Clinton is a first-class American. Now, that is not to say that one is saying that Kamala Harris is not a first-class American. But there is always, in politics, there is always this bias, this sentiment in the mind of the people, of some persons. So I see all of that going to be to our disadvantage should she be nominated by the Democrat. And mind you, Donald Trump was to come for a second term when Joe Biden defeated him, won that election. In America, they have a culture where Republican, you rule, you go. Democrat will come after you complete your term. That is how it has been, save for some intervention that has happened. And one of them happened in the era of Donald Trump. I see that happening again in the era of Joe Biden. So Trump coming back now, because Americans so far under the administration of Joe Biden have not fared well. Though there is this global drain, as I choose to call it. Yeah. So people call it recession, some people call it global, but I choose to call it global drain, where the economy of the world is being affected somehow. And every country, whether super country, whether not super, whether third world nation, everybody is trying his or her best to see how they can come out of that. Yes, if you look at the economic factor under the leadership of Joe Biden, whose ticket is jointly tied to the person Kamala Harris, you discover that economically they've not done well. Then you look at security-wise, like I did say, security-wise they've not done well. They've not been able to stop the crisis all over the world. If not for some interventions, perhaps by now Asia will still be boiling. But as it stands, the politics was able to, the world rallied around to ensure that they were able to play the politics, and Asia is just sitting on a keg of gunpowder, as it stands, particularly between China and Taiwan. Then you go to the other part of it, you go to Middle East, you see the crisis between Israel, and now is now beyond Israel Hamas. We begin to see how the crisis is developing. Then now you come to think of America in this era of catalog of crisis. now also having a presidential election. So the person of the candidate will matter a lot, because the Americans will be looking at the person who will be able to ensure that there is stability with respect to peace, not just in America, but in the globe at large.
Okay, well, when we look at what the President Joe Biden says, he said that he has come to a head in terms of the conclusion that he will be leaving office in January, so he's not coming back, and that it is the interest of the party and, of course, the interest of the country. Now, let's look at what is pulling through for Kamala Harris. Now, reports have it that over 1,900 delegates, which is more than half of what she needs, you know, to pull through to emerge as the candidate of the party. Now, do you see any clock in making that would be set as a backward, you know, trend for her not to be able to hit that threshold?
No, with regards to her hitting the threshold, you know, the persons that have come out to support her, with regards to those high up in the Democratic Party, she has the goodwill of those persons in the Democratic Party. And
so she's well over
she
50%.
She might be, yes, she might be able to, you know, clinch the ticket. But then again, there are so many things that happen in electioneering. So something can happen, and besides, when they weigh the, you know, their chances of winning the election, and then against the backdrop of what has happened previously, they might, you know, want to reconsider. But then again, we cannot know until the elections are conducted, the primaries are conducted.
Yeah.
And then whoever wins now will now be the flag bearer. But as it stands now, she's the front runner. And so, but we cannot, you know, unequivocally say that she's going to clinch the ticket.
Okay, so Democrats are looking forward to August 7
yes,
as they make a choice in terms of who is going to be that. Well, let's look at how it goes as regards you spoke about the administration, for instance, and they need to also look inwards and see what could be the challenges that she will be faced with if she emerges. Most especially as it's been reported that she was at the forefront of conversations over the root causes of migration, you know, issues as regards Mexico, the U.S.-Mexico war. Now, she's now been seen as a border Caesar, and even Donald Trump is also using that as a way of, you know, hunting her down. And now let's look at the possible defects that could also count against Kamala Harris. Now, she was given the task, you know, in the administration of Joe Biden, you know, at the forefront of looking at the root causes, migration causes of the Mexico-U.S. Border. Now, some have said that this could count against her because she was seen as making some mistakes in that direction. And again, she was also interviewed by a BBC news reporter, Lester Holtz, and she received attacks as a conservative, you know, in that direction. Now, do you see all of this as also what could militate against her chances?
Yes, it's clear. Because if you look at some of the comments she made with respect to the boundary between the United States of America and Mexico, you will discover that she spoke like every sane human would do. She spoke like that mother that has the chicks at heart. She spoke like that mother that is ready to protect all the chicks. She spoke like somebody who is at the aim of affairs of world police. But then, what do Americans want? Do Americans want all of that storytelling? Do Americans see what she has done as a fairy tale told to an idiot? Do Americans see it as a political gimmick for her to skate through? Perhaps some may be thinking, oh, she had this presidential ticket at heart. That's why she was making some of those comments. They can never see it. But then, if you look at the administration, I keep hammering on that she has a joint ticket with. The administration just now has not done better in the lives of Americans. And from which of the factors are we going to look at it at? Is it from security? Is it from economy? Is it from the migration or immigration, as the case may be? So looking at all of that and going by our campaign promises, our campaign promises so far is no less different from that of Joe Biden. She is still maintaining that stand. And I do not think that that position would help our party and herself to emerge. Then, if you look at the other side of it, one is not trying to be gender sensitive.
Or biased.
Yes. If you look at the gender also, just now, I do not think that America needs a gender.
You are speaking as a typical African man, and particularly Nigerian.
With respect to...
You said earlier, the country, America, United States, has a system that works.
Yes.
So it's already on autopilot, even if you put a goat there. That was your statement.
Yes.
That it will also function.
Yes.
So what makes you think that it will be considered
America will function...
gender as a setback for the leadership? America
will function in America. No doubt about that. But America is beyond just the territory called America. The United States of America is beyond just the territory called United States of America.
But are you also considering the vibrant leadership that she could bring on board if she emerges?
When I listen to her, I remember the former Secretary of State of the United States of America, the person of Condoleezza Rice.
That's a positive one.
Yes. Anytime I look at her, I remember that lady then. But then, is that what is in the mind of Americans? And just like we have agreed here, the Electoral College that will be the determining factor of who becomes the president of America, what is in their mind.
Well,
so it is going to be an Herculean task.
Do the Americans need someone who is too assuming, who is over ambitious, who is
who fits that description?
Who talks tough to a point where he talks silly? Because some have said that, you look at the personality of Trump. There are always issues. He's always creating enemies. He's always giving reason for people to, see that he bullies. Now, would you see Americans making a mistake of what they had when, he was on as the president? Because Donald Trump then, a lot of statements were credited to the fact that he bullied. So, are you saying that Americans will forget this so quickly and make their mandate, go for a Republican this time? Or would they still be looking inwards and taking a better decision? Joshua?
Yeah, with regards to, the re-election or the election bid of former president.
Looking at the weaknesses of Donald Trump, for instance.
Donald Trump. The thing is that from what we have seen so far, from his campaigns that he has done so far, and even clinching the ticket despite having a criminal allegation against him in court, and even the case going on, and then, these are some main things that should have hampered his chances of even securing the ticket.
But what about the arrogance?
If they were mindful of those things.
What about the unassuming ego?
Then again, you must always take note that the African society is a society that hampers more on respect. In the United States, once you get your job done, you are good to go. Nobody believes that he's a small boy, he's a big boy, you should give me respect because I'm the godfather, because I'm the senior person. Nobody gives a damn about that, quote and unquote, in the United States. And that's why it's a society like that. We're not talking about Africa here. If it was in an African country or in Nigeria, for example, then you say, okay, this is the things that happen. But you can't use the metrics of the Nigerian politics to judge the United States. We're talking about United States politics. And that's why we're making these comments. If it were to be a Nigerian election, we know what we would have said. Looking at the factors that contribute to elections in Nigeria. But looking at the factors that contribute to elections in the United States, we must make sure that we are speaking in line with what happens in the United States. For example, there's nothing like the Electoral College in Nigeria. But in the United States, it's something that is valid. And we saw that somebody lost election due to the fact that the electoral college, she didn't win most of the votes in the electoral college despite winning popular votes. So you can see that these are so many things. But in Nigeria, nothing like that. Once you win this number of states, 2/3, then you are sworn in. But in the United States, you must win the electoral college.
Okay.
A certain number. So you cannot use that, the metrics of Nigerian politics, to judge the American politics. So flowing from that, we will see that most persons might not pay an eye to the gimmicks of Donald Trump. Some persons might even love those gimmicks, and they feel that, okay, this is somebody that we need. This is somebody that will talk. This is someone that will do things. And so we want somebody like this who can say no to power or yes to power. And you can see what happened with the whole war, the war that have been going on in different countries, and then the kind of mercy that the United States has shown, quote and unquote. Donald Trump, if he were there, when he was there, he would not have allowed those situations to degenerate into what it has gotten into.
All right.
So these are some of the things that persons would also look at, especially the voters who are the United States citizens.
Beautiful articulation, and we just hope to see how the Democrats will deliver the nominee August 7th, and it's been reported that they will be doing that virtually as we see more coming in that direction. Talking about the late Nelson Mandela, the legend.
Yes.
But can you refresh my memory? Have we had any president in Nigeria that decided to relinquish the re-election bid for the good of the party and the country?
That is utopian. Because the black man's mind, no, the average Nigerian's mind is nasals to his skin. So coming up to make that kind of frantic decision, I don't think we'll ever had it. We saw a situation in this country where even our most respected president was at a time sick. And some persons will even say that, look, he can even rule from the grave. He got to that extent. So that is unimaginable. You cannot imagine that in this part of the world. Because though we saw the delightful and well-respected former president of South Africa, Nelson Mandela, it was only man who said, no, I don't need to go back for the second time. This that I've done is okay. Let other persons have their bite, and let us see how the country can go forward. In this part of the world, no. Even within the region, we saw recently how some drama happened, wherein the chairman of the regional political body ought to have give way for another person. He said, no, before you know, in the night we heard that, look, he has been re-elected. So that is the kind of thing you see in this part of the world. And that is why when Joe Biden was trying to dodge, trying to ensure that he stays, but you saw the pressure from his party. In this part of the world, in Nigeria, which political party chairman will have that guts to tell the president, oh, or members of the party will not tell the president, oh, president, we think henceforth you should go and arrest? Who has the guts? Even among the big weak politicians will come and tell you, oh, the president is the father of all. The president, I remember one governor, particularly in the eastern part of Nigeria, who said the president dreams Igbo, the president dreams Enugu, the president dreams Abia, the president dreams Anambra. When you see political leaders begin to make statements like that, then you know that this kind of system is not a system to be reckoned with. Okay. And I do not see that happening now. I do not see it happening in the next 100 years, perhaps maybe in another world to come. On This Morning on ITV, we were also looking at the statement credited to the former president of Nigeria, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, where he said that no political ambition of any politician is worth the blood of any citizen or any Nigerian. And we see reports, you know, of people who want to clinch office to the extent, even at the detriment of the security of the state. Go ahead to do anything possible. And we've seen all of this being played, power play in Nigeria. Now, how do we nexus this away from this narrative?
Yeah, you know, one thing that we should also have as citizens, yeah, and even the politicians, they should take note of that fact that they are first citizens before they are eligible to even run for office.
Exactly.
And so even after they have run for office and they are out of the office, they become citizens again. And even while they are in office, they are still citizens. And so they should do things that will make for the betterment of the citizens. Because at the end of the day, when you have a peaceful society, you also as a politician would benefit from the society which you have created. And like a popular musician said, that we are the monsters we make. So if you decide to do things that will not make for a peaceful society, at the end of the day, when chips are down, you would also have a bite of the wrongs that you have done in the society. And you know, sometimes we keep on saying these things, we just say it as if it's abstract. It is not abstract.
Okay.
These are things that we have seen. So persons should know that even as a politician, I should do some things, do most things how it ought to be done, so that at the end of the day, the society can be a better place for all, and inclusive of they themselves who are also the politicians. So when Nigerians have that in mind, Nigerian politicians, then they would not be eager to, you know, cling on to power to say I must do this or I must do that or I must win at any cost. No, 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 no. Whoever wins there, you support the person so that the person can do well for the state.
Exactly. Just as we pry into the future and come November election in the United States, and power venture, it comes like a bank, and you see that Kamala Harris clinched the office of the president. What would be your reaction, Joshua?
I'll be very, very surprised. I'll be very, very surprised, to be honest, because...
Seriously?
Yes.
It's all about the American people.
That is it, but, you know, it's just like the fact that when, you know, in the first election when Hillary Clinton ran, you know, some of us knew that it was going to be quite difficult, despite the fact that she won popular votes. And that's one thing. It's one thing to win popular votes and then another thing to win at the Electoral College. So now this person has to win popular votes and the Electoral College. And as it stands, the government of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they might not, I don't see them clinching popular votes, not to talk of the Electoral College. And it's even easier to have popular votes than to have the votes from the Electoral College. So it's going to be a Herculean task. But if she clinches the ticket in the long run, then we'll just have to see the kind of policies that she, you know, takes, being the person that will not be at the helm of affairs. Okay.
They say the only thing in life that is constant is change. I don't know how your mind or how your thoughts are, or how you are processing them in your mind. If it comes like a bank to you and that Kamala Harris clinched it, will you cry?
She cannot clinch it. That bank will not emerge now. That bank is just not possible just now.
You sound like a die-hard fan of Donald Trump.
No, the thing is that I try to look at the policies.
Okay, the policies.
Yes, and what
unfolds.
Yes, she has an already joint ticket. And should you listen to Americans and you look at the opinion poll that is ongoing, particularly between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, you will see the difference. The gap.
But what about if you see some booby traps that Donald Trump could fall into that could make him unpopular tomorrow?
No, just now.
That change the tide?
I think what Americans desire now, I think it's a change.
Don't forget the aspect of the investigations over the shooting and all that transpired, you know, that put Donald Trump on the eye of the storm. If investigations pull out and they saw that it was a drama.
Well, that, you know, in America, their criminal law is not like the type we have here. If it were to even be here, even for the fact that he's now going through some legal tussle, that would have been a disadvantage. But we see that even with the legal tussle, the man's at advantage. So I think that is what bothers me the more, and I think he will come out as the next president of the United States of America.
All right. Thank you very much, Joshua Bulagba. Big thanks to you, Emmanuel Obakbala, for taking our time to be part of this conversation. Well, this is where we call it a wrap on today's episode of International Forum. See you on the next one. Goodbye.